Hey guys, it's mcfixit here. We're going to be working on how to learn to plastic weld. I have this headlight here and the plastic broke off of it. So I'm going to walk you through exactly how you can put it back together, re-welding that plastic. Now, this is not standard welding that you see lots of places for metal. It's very different, but it works very well. Only uses a few tools, and I'll walk you through all the tools, all the supplies, and everything you need to be able to do this yourself. It is not that complicated, but there are a number of steps, and in that kit comes with lots of goodies that you can make sure you do this properly yourself and be able to put that plastic right back where it's supposed to be, so this headlight does work again and is held in properly. Here are the tools and the supplies that I used. I ended up using this kit by Junajip. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but it is a plastic welding kit. It's an 80-watt kit. Works really well. It does have instructions. Make sure to read those. Has a lot of things you'll need, including the soldering iron stand, some extra plastic that is different types of plastic blended together. It comes with some metal mesh, which is really helpful. A wire brush to clean off any of the stuff that you previously had on there. It just takes a few seconds. If you need sandpaper, they give you a nice little roll of sandpaper and give you a backup tip. That's super helpful. You also want some tin snips so you're able to cut. I used a blade to be able to cut chunks of this off to weld. If you don't have some kind of sander that comes with it, you may want to sand and prep your surface. I couldn't really prep this surface, but that is an optional thing. You may need a screwdriver. I ended up needing to reset where the screw was, the screw bracket holder. Then to get off, I had to use a 10mm. And then I had to use a pair of pliers to kind of hold the bracket underneath as I was unscrewing it there. So that's all the tools and supplies I used to make this video. You'll also want to make sure you have some safety precautions. So make sure you have at least an N95 mask. If you have an aerator breather, that's even better. Get some safety glasses because you will want those for your own protection. Don't breathe in burning plastic. It's not healthy or safe for you. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and heat up your soldering gun. It does come with a little tool that it places it on, and this is an 80-watt kit, which I think is going to be just about perfect for this fix. You don't want a really super hot one. And then the next thing we're going to do is you got to kind of figure out where your parts go, and you will want that heating up as you do this. And so as we begin to see, it should come back together. Sometimes it takes a little bit of flipping them around, especially when it's broken when you were taking it out. And this is missing a piece as well. And also it has this metal clamp. So this is going to be an additional difficulty part for this because we're going to have to make sure this can fit back on it. So I'm just going to go ahead and push that on and into place. You might have to get like a screwdriver or something to get it where it needs to sit. Yours may not have this difficulty or issue, but I did kind of just want to show you exactly how you get through all of it to make it work. And just take your time. It is a little difficult to get these ones in because I'm trying not to break the plastic, even though it's already broken. There it goes. So you want to make sure that that lines up, and we'll have to put that on there properly, just like that, which is actually going to be kind of nice because that's going to hold that pretty well. I didn't know if it was going to work that easy, and then that will have to get tacked on. And so this welding is a lot different than the traditional welding you might be thinking of using a soldering iron. You can use these kind of plastics, but often you can look around and see if there's something that isn't actually being used and get a little extra plastic. I do not actually see something on this that isn't being used because all of these you need the bottom tab here and this one because these slide into the place. There's no bolts that go through here or nuts, but typically I would try to find a piece on this that you could steal, but I don't want to mess up the integrity of it, so they do come with lots of these. Now these are pretty thick. Sometimes I do actually take a knife and you can shave these down into a little bit more manageable sizes. And so I just kind of cut it kind of at a slight angle. It doesn't have to be perfect. These have lots of different types of plastic in them, so they do work well for just about any type of plastic. This is probably a poly plastic. That's like the most common on a lot of these different parts. So this should be nice and warmed up. So before you begin to actually do anything with the plastic, you are going to want to wear a mask, and so it may not be as clear. I might have to do a voiceover. And then you'll also want to make sure you put on safety glasses. Go ahead and put those on. Those are very important that you do. If you have a respirator mask, that's even better. Make sure you do never touch the metal on here. Very hot. So I'm just going to work on a couple of places, and they might be a little deep right here, but I just want to kind of tack weld these on. As you can see, I just kind of went a little bit deep, and I just wanted to make sure that was kind of tacked on every spot that looks broken. And it's okay, we're going to come back and really clean that up, but I wanted us to at least get the ability for that to begin to work. Now, often I will attach some kind of metal. It comes with some pieces of mesh, so I probably will use a piece here. You will need 10 snips with this. So go ahead and open it up. And I just kind of guesstimate on the size. You can always trim this up later. And this is not a piece that's going to be like super seen, so it's okay if it's not perfect. And what this does is this adds a really great reinforcement. Now, I have seen some people use some different things. You can use like steel wool. I don't know how well that would actually work, but I do know this works super, super, super well. And so you begin to kind of fold it and bend it just like you need it to go. That's why it's a little bit not rigid. And so I like that right there. I'm going to go ahead and begin to push it into the plastic. Just a few seconds, you're going to hold it down, and you should begin to see the plastic actually kind of adhering to it. I know this is not the best camera angle. It will look better up top. And so pushing this into the plastic, and you can kind of push it kind of hard. You don't want to kill it. The plastic will naturally come right above it. So I've not added any plastic to it yet. I just kind of want to show you what it looks like. All I have done is put that metal mesh over it. That looks really good. That's right where that crack is. Now that we have that kind of figured out there, and we'll go ahead and just trim that little corner out. We still got this side to do as well, and I'm going to add a little extra and some on the back. So just begin to melt that into there. You can like count to like 5. That's probably plenty. Like just firm pressure. You don't got to kill it. It will melt. This thing is getting quite warm now. And you just kind of keep going with this process. And I am adding it all the way up here, which might seem crazy, but this will just help give you a little bit more stability, and will really help kind of plant that into that plastic well. Perfect. And then kind of, if you see any other parts that are kind of high, you can go ahead and hit those up where you're seeing some of that metal still sticking through. I'm thinking that looks really good right there. So let me go ahead and show you all that I just did. I started down here and I pressed it into it. I'm going to go ahead and kind of wiggle this. That is really firm, and we still have a broken side right here. So go ahead and grab your mesh again. And then you're just kind of guesstimating where it's going to live. So if it's here, it's going to kind of bend up and over. And again, this is a little wider than what it needs to be, but that's okay. We can always edit that up as we go and cut it to a better size. But it's almost better to have a little too much. I already know I'm going to have to kind of do a little notch right here where that lives. And I'm going to just kind of tuck this inside. Got a little more trimming to do. And if you run out of what comes in this kit, you can probably just go buy a metal screen, and they're like just a couple of bucks for a big old chunk, and that should last you forever. I like that right there. So I'm going to start on this end right here to kind of begin to get it to work and melt into it. And I'll come over here. You just want to keep your hand away from it. You don't want to burn yourself. It truly is not worth it. I do know some people, if you do have the ability to hook up an air hose, you can actually spray this to get it to cool faster. If you're doing especially a really large chunk, it only takes a few seconds. So I'm not hooking up my air hose and everything else just for that. I can be patient and let it wait. And the beautiful thing is you do kind of mess up someplace, just give it a second to kind of get hard, and then you can go right back over that same area and touch it up. So we have not added any plastic yet. We are just allowing this thing to kind of get some adherence to that metal mesh. I'm just going to flatten this out just a little bit. And so that's all we've done. Now remember, we cut a couple pieces of plastic. If you want to add some extra reinforcement, you go ahead. I'm going to go to the side that we already did, and I'm just going to set this here. It takes a few seconds to melt because this is pretty thick. Another thing you can do if you want a really thin one, I've seen people do, is grab zip ties. Now zip ties are only one type of plastic, so it will work. But the downside is I don't believe it's a poly plastic, so it may not work for some of your two different types of poly that are out there. But it definitely will work with a lot of plastics. And so all I'm doing is just really just kind of sticking it on there, flatten this out. I don't really care how beautiful it is. I'm going to try to make it look nice, but if it's not perfect, it's okay with me. Gonna go ahead and get another strip just like that. I just think sometimes this is just a little too thick for this kind of application. If you're working on a really, really big hole in plastic or binding two sides together, that would probably be perfect for that thick of one. But you can just get these little thinner ones. So it's really just about a little bit of patience, getting it nice and smoothed out and flat. I don't care if it's over this a little bit. I probably even cut it with a knife, but I'll be honest, I don't really care because it's just going to add a little bit more strength to it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and work on the side here. Just adding a little bit more plastic. And then when you get it too small like that was, just set it on there once it kind of melts and just work it around. Just like so. So the top and the side are done. We gotta go ahead and hit up this side. We will grab some more plastic. I'm going to cut a couple little strips here for me. Again, you don't have to do it this way. You could stick it on there. It's just pretty big. I don't think I'm going to be able to rotate this much better. It's going to move a lot if I do it like this, but that's okay. Hopefully it gives you a little bit better camera angle than if it's on this side. I'll go ahead and begin just melting that back down onto there. You just kind of smooth it out as you go. Any pieces that are too long as well, like over here, I can cut off when I'm done. It trims up very easily, just like regular plastic normally does. I'm gonna get just a little bit more. Don't need much, just this little spot right here. And just melting that right down into there. And then just kind of trimming everything up by just lightly putting it on there and moving it around. Now the other option is to come inside of here and do some stuff, but I'm going to let this thing sit for just a couple seconds. I'm going to show you how strong this is. So, I'm not joking. I am literally hitting it about as hard as I can, and it's not doing anything. That has welded that really well. So after you have that top done, we are going to flip it over. There's not going to be a whole lot we can do in here, but I do just want to go ahead and touch and try to create some connectedness, even though it is so well done on the top. It's not going to hurt us to spend a few seconds in here and just melting some of this plastic back together on the inside. So that's really all you need to do on the inside, because you've done so much on the outside with that extra reinforcement. So if this was helpful, please like and subscribe. Please comment if you do have any questions. I hope this was helpful. I think we're going to be having to do a whole lot more plastic welding in the future, since everything seems to be plastic. So I hope this was helpful.